Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters temporary studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of my incredible patrons. Once a month, patrons vote on what commander that they'd like to see in an upcoming episode, and the commander that gets the most votes wins. So the commander that got the most votes for this month is Syr Gwyn, Hero of Ashvale. Syr Gwyn is a 5/5 human knight with Vigilance and Menace that costs 3 red, white, black, and she has whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. On top of that, equipment you control have equipped Knight 0. Of course, if you didn't notice and didn't hear me say it, yeah, Syr Gwyn, of course, is a knight herself. So basically, you can equip any equipment on her for free, which can save you an absurd amount of mana throughout the game. It can help you do some incredible plays, and it can help you hit your opponents incredibly hard with this deadly commander. On top of also, whenever you're attacking, you're drawing a card and losing a life. So yeah, as I've said many a times before, in Commander, 1 life for 1 card is well worth it. So yeah, we can generate card advantage with this, while also smashing our opponent's faces. So yeah, this commander can definitely pack a punch, and we're going to be building it Voltron style. So yeah, get a ton of equipment out, get them on Syr Gwyn, and take our opponents down with commander damage. Now, on this episode, I'm going to be taking you through different tactics to show you how this deck works and how we're going to win with it. And if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's jump into it. After I remind you, because I just forgot to mention, that this is also a very budget-friendly deck with every single card in it outside the commander being less than $1. Now, that said, let's jump into it. First up, of course, there's Wayfarer's Bauble, a fantastic piece of ramp that can really help us, well, go get a land, unlike a lot of other ramp in these colors. That being said, of course, there are some great artifacts that can help us out as well, some great mana rocks like Arcane Signet, Talisman of Hierarchy, and Felwar Stone, each of which can tap for some of our colors, and each of which just costs 2 very efficient, low-to-the-ground mana rocks. Next up, of course, we're going to be running all of our signets, basically each of which we put 1 into, and they tap for their guild's colors. And then we've got some other 2-mana rocks that are very efficient. Cold Steel Heart can help us pick a color that we want to utilize it for. Marble Diamond is just battlefield tap. We can tap for a white, and Mind Stone we can sacrifice to draw a card. Moving on, we've got some very efficient mana rocks at 3 mana with Coalition Relic and War and Power Stone. Again, our commander does cost 6, so having mana rocks that can add more than 1 can be huge. Coalition Relic can basically store up mana to add 2 in a turn, and War and Power Stone just always adds 2. And then at 4 mana, we've got mana rocks that also add 2 with Firemind Vessel, Stonespeaker Crystal, and Hedron Archive. Stonespeaker Crystal and Hedron Archive we can actually sacrifice for value. Stonespeaker can be sacrificed to exile graveyards and draw a card, and Hedron Archive can draw us 2 cards. Moving on, let's talk about some ways to really pump up the power to help Syr Gwyn hit incredibly hard. Blackblade Forge is a great one. +1/+1 for each land we control. Hedron Matrix is next. Gonna get +X/+X for the converted mana cost. So basically, +6/+6 for our commander. Speaking of which, our Gentum Armor also +6/+6, but on top of that, whenever a equipped creature attacks, we destroy target permanents. This can get rid of a lot of things for us. And then we've got some variable pump effects, starting out with Cranial Plating, +1/+0 for each artifact we control. And yeah, again, counting all the mana rocks and equipment and other things, we've got a lot of artifacts in this deck to pump our commander with. Speaking of pumping our commander, though, Bone Horde. It's a living weapon, so it comes into play on a germ. +X/+X for each creature in all graveyards. This can be a massive amount of pump for our commander the later the game goes. And then we've got some keyword helpers as well that also pump with Loxodon Warhammer and Sword of Vengeance. Loxodon Warhammer +2/+0, Trample, Lifelink. Sword of Vengeance, here we go, +2/+0, First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Haste. So yeah, a lot of different ways to help us out and make our commander even deadlier. Moving on, we can double up the pain that our commander is going to dish out with Fire Shrieker, Lizard Blades, and Grappling Hook, each of which give double strike, and Grappling Hook can also force a creature to block so we can take creatures out. We can also double things up with Gavel the Righteous. Basically, we get charge counters on it, and it's going to get +1/+1 for each charge counter on it, and on top of that, if it's got 4 more counters on it, the equipped creature has double strike. Two-handed axe, we can either use it as a spell to give double strike until end of turn, or we can equip it and then double up the power on attack. Fiend Lash helps out in a different way, +2/+0 in reach, and then when it's dealt damage, it dishes out damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker, so this can be incredibly painful for our opponents. Now, there are a lot of great cards in this deck and many great pieces of equipment in the deck, but there is one, in my opinion, that stands above the rest, and that is the Golden Pig of this deck, which, of course, is the #1 card over 99, and the Golden Pig for this deck is Sunforger. Sunforger is an equipment that costs 3, and it says equipped creature gets +4/+0, and by paying red, white, unattached Sunforger, search your library for a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less, and cast the card without paying its mana cost, then shuffle your library. Again, usually you'd have to pay 3 mana to keep equipping this to a creature, but with our commander, again, we can equip it for 0 since our commander is a knight. So basically, just pay 2 mana, unattach this, go get any red or white instant from your library that costs 4 or less and cast it for free. This can give us a ton of value throughout the game. And of course, on top of that, when it is equipped, +4/+0, that's amazing. So there's a lot of reasons why Sunforger is the Golden Pig of this deck. Moving on, we've got some other ways to help our commander out with some equipment. Prowler's Helm, which can make our commander basically unblockable. Cloak of the Bat, which gives flying and haste to help get it through. And Swiftfoot Boots, which can protect it with hexproof and also give haste. Another way to get our commander through is with Mask of Grizzlebrand, which does that and more. Flying and lifelink, so we can pad our life total a ton, which can be great because if our commander dies with this attached, we can pay X life, where X is its power, and draw that many cards, which can be a ton. Next up, Cloudsteel Kieran. Flying as well for our commander, and also on top of that, you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game when this is attached. So they got to deal with this first to actually deal with us. And when we do get through on an opponent with some of those evasive equipment, Vorpal Sword can be incredible, +2/+0 and Death Touch, which is already great. Also on top of that, 5 black. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So that can be a one-shot KO. We can also utilize a card like Dracnin, which can really help us out. Enters the battlefield, exile to one target creature, then the equipped creature gets Menace, and +X/+0 X is the exile card's power, which again can be a ton. And then how about Masterwork of Ingenuity, a very flexible piece of equipment that can become a copy of any equipment on the battlefield, not just our own, and again, it's just 1 mana. Next up, let's talk about some ways to protect our commander with cards like Thran Power Suit, Plate Armor, and Sanctuary Blade. Thran Power Suit's going to get ++1 for each or an equipment attached to it, and Ward 2. So this can be a massive power boost. Speaking of which, Plate Armor, +3/+3, Ward 1, and Sanctuary Blade, when it becomes attached to a creature, choose a color, +2/+0, and protect for the last chosen color, so we can switch this up when we need to. And we also have some low the ground instant speed spells that can help us out in a lot of situations. Blacksmith skill is going to give target permanent hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and if it's artifact creature gets +2/+2. Lauren's Escape is going to give target artifact or creature hexproof and indestructible, and we scry 1. So some great low the ground ways to protect things that are important. Now, Syr Gwyn isn't the only knight joining the fray because we got Dantha Capish and Paragon, which has First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink, and also on top of that, she's going to reduce the cost of our equipment spells by 1, which can save us a ton of mana throughout the game. And then Silverblade Paladin can really help our commander out. Soul Bond, as long as it's paired with another creature, both creatures have Double Strike, giving our commander Double Strike can just be a very, very, very deadly thing. Now, when it comes to some card advantage help, we've got SRAM Senior Edificer to really help us out throughout the game. Whenever you cast an equipment spell, draw a card. So this can really take advantage of all the equipment that we have in the deck. And then next up, we've got some more standard draw spells. Sign in Blood, draw 2, lose 2, Read the Bones, Scry 2, draw 2, lose 2, and Painful Truce. Basically, if we use 3 mana different colors, draw 3, lose 3. And then there's Throw Possibility. Discard a card to draw 2. Cathartic Union, discard 2 to draw 3. Big Score, discard 1, draw 2, create 2 treasure tokens. And Siphon Mind's going to have our opponents do the discarding for us, and then we're going to draw a card for each card discarded this way. So usually discard 3 for opponents, draw 3. Open the Armory, a great tutor for this deck. 2 mana, go get any equipment, get it right into our hand. Now, when it comes to removal, we've got plenty of fantastic removal spells. Despark, exile any permanent that converted mana cost 4 or greater. Utter End, exile any target non-land permanent. And Wear and Tear, we can use it to destroy target artifact or destroy target enchantment, or both if we fuse it. And speaking of both, there's Crush Contraband. Choose one or both. Exile target artifact, exile target enchantment. Rakdos Charm gives us a lot of options. Choose one. Exile a graveyard, destroy an artifact, or make each creature deal 1 damage to its controller, which can be a great finisher against certain decks. Speaking of a finisher, Response. Okay, not Response, but Response can be a great way to deal with an attacking or blocking creature. But Resurgence, a great way to get in additional combat, which again can be huge for a Voltron commander like this one. Speaking of which, there's Divine Reckoning. Each player is going to keep one creature and destroy the rest, so we can flash it back. Cleansing Nova, a flexible void wipe, either destroy all creatures or artifacts and enchantments. So your command, incredibly flexible. Choose 2. Artifacts, enchantments, small creatures, big creatures. Yeah, this can do a lot of work for us. But now let's quickly go over our lands, starting off with Command Tower, Path of Ancestry, and Nomad Outpost, each of which can tap for all of our colors. Next up, Exotic Orchard can tap for any of our colors most of the time. Ash Barrens we can basic land cycle away, and Mirrored Landscape can actually up ramp us. And then we've got some easy fetch lands with Evolving Wilds and Terraforming Expanse. Sacrifice them, go get a basic, and apply tapped. Speaking of which, in a somewhat similar way, we've got the Streets of Nuka Penna lands that enter the battlefield, are sacrificed, gain us 1 life, and get us 1 of 2 basic lands in our deck. Moving on, we're going to be running our bounce lands, which enter the battlefield tapped, can tap for 2, and make us bounce 1 land back to our hand. Next up, we've got Axguard Armory, which we can sacrifice, go get an equipment, and Rogue's Passage, which can help us get our commander through. And finally, we're going to round this deck out with basic lands, including mountains, plains, and swamps. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, every single card in this deck outside of the commander is less than $1, so it's a very budget-friendly deck coming in at an estimated cost of just $27. And you might be able to save even more by buying this deck on TCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, which of course need a home too, though do keep in mind this estimated cost does not include the cost of basic lands or shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. And with that, this episode is coming to an end. So, yeah, comment below and let me know what your thoughts are. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.